Alrighty,
Hey, what's going on,
kick it
everybody?
off, man. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, we got this nice webinar for you, talking a little about unlocking clarity. First of all, we want to say congrats for being here. This is the first step to really understanding the framework behind your mind and where clarity lies within it. We're going to dive a little into how to gain that direction and break free from uncertainty, some limited beliefs that may be stopping you, but ultimately showing you that clarity is within arm's reach, practicing your daily life in order to get there.
Absolutely excited to show you guys what we've got today. Let's go on to the next slide here. Alrighty, so a big part of what we experience daily with individuals is this feeling of fogginess or feeling stuck. You're trying everything and still you're not moving. You're stuck in the mud. And that's what this webinar is all designed to show you some actionable tips at the end of the day, how to get unstuck, how to find that momentum and that path forward.
Yeah.
And we hear it all the time, man. I mean, that's something that comes up, daily in some of the clients.
Every single day. And I think something to mention is something we always like to remind people. It is not a lack of motivation or ambition.
No.
You have it inside. That intrinsic motivation is there. It's not a lack of going after it or trying to fix what the issue is. It's a lack of clarity. You're just not seeing what the answer is. And sometimes that answer is within us.
Sure.
And we're going to dive in exactly how to turn that answer up a little bit so you can find and seek it.
Exactly. So we've got 3 actionable steps that you're going to take away at the end of this webinar with the goal of creating clarity immediately. Something you can do today. The minute this webinar ends, the minute you exit, you have 3 actionable things that you can accomplish. So we are your hosts. My name is Eli. This is Kyle. We've been business partners and best friends for the last 12 years. We've done 4 different ventures together. And ultimately, we have come to what is our calling, and that is peak fulfillment. And we'll talk more about that in the latter part of the webinar. But ultimately, what we do is we help individuals find that path to clarity, cut through the clutter, and have that moment in solitude, those 3 days in solitude, to find their path.
Right. People that are feeling directionalist, they're feeling uncertainty, they're feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling stressed, they're feeling confused, they're feeling stuck. We help guide them to the opposite of that, which is clarity, it's direction, and it's feeling like you finally have a vision and path forward. Because when you get stuck in that position of not knowing what's next, it's scary.
It is.
And you wake up not knowing if you're going to be able to find that clarity and keep going. And you sometimes just feel like giving up. This isn't the right business. This isn't the right relationship. This isn't the right diet. It just, your mind starts to go. And understanding that there are 3 ways today that you can help with that mindset.
Let's jump in.
But before we get started, we want to kind of break down our story and exactly why we focus on clarity, why we do solo retreats, why we have the clarity score, and so much more. So back in 2008, November 2018, November 8th, I lost my home in the campfire in Paradise, California. So I had everything ripped away from me. My parents lost their home. I lost my business, and I had nothing. I was hurting. I was scared. But I was also dealing with something very heavy that happened the day before, and that was mine and my wife's first miscarriage. We decided to have another kid. We started naming this child. We started really living out what that means and what that looks like. And when you get that ripped away from you, it's a death in the eyes of the family. And we didn't have time to mourn because the next day we lost everything we owned. So when people say, there's valleys and mountains in life, we were digging a trench in the valley. I was at such a low place for such a long time. I became numb to any feelings because I had to be the backbone of my family and I had to become resilient. And it got to a point where I wasn't feeling emotions anymore. I had anxiety doing the smallest things in my life. And on April 21st, 2021, I suppressed those emotions so deep down inside me that I looked myself in the mirror in the morning and I said, this is it. I'm done. I can't keep going forward. And I was ready to check out in life. But then I reminded myself all the work that I've done, all the people that I have accountable to me, all the people that love me and people that I love back. It wouldn't be fair to take my life. And I said, Kyle, there's another option. And that is dealing with the stuff that just came crashing down on April 21st to me, dealing with it and just escaping reality for a few days. And a few days later, I headed to the coast of Oregon and I did my first solo retreat, where at that retreat for 4 days, I focused on my inner voice. I got rid of the noise and I was able to transform my thoughts to pure clarity. There was so much emotions that weekend. There was so much I dealt with, but I came out seeing what the path was forward. And I did a complete flip of who I was. I came back as a better father, a better husband, a better business partner, a better friend, a better person in my community. And if it wasn't for that weekend and the understanding that I needed to just go escape for a little bit and work on myself and listen to my inner voice, I don't know if I'd be here today. And that's going to kind of jump in now to Eli's story,
Yeah.
and how I kind of encouraged him when he was going through a tough spot.
Yeah, in 2021, same same year, it really rained for Kyle and I at the same year. In a span of 2 weeks in early June, I went through a divorce, found out I was being cheated on, into losing my uncle, who was this kind of cornerstone or rock in my life. And then lastly, our business crumbled that Kyle and I had to the point of $1.28 in our account, having payroll due that next day. And that period of time built an incredible amount of resilience. It built this armor around us and shaped who Kyle and I were. But I had a similar option. It was either go into this kind of deep, dark, depressional route, or how do we wrap this up and how do I help individuals go through something that they're going through that might be way worse than I'm going through. I was lucky to have Kyle who gave me this workbook and these kind of very primitive prompts on deep inner work, who I am, why I am the way they are, and kind of what I've built and who am I as an individual and my identity. And my solo retreat changed the trajectory of where I am today, what Kyle and I have built. And it again built that armor that I think this program and what we've built today, and we'll talk about in the latter part of the webinar, was really built from. It was built from our two backgrounds. So that was just a little bit of a touch
Right.
on why we do the things we do today, and kind of that spark, that initial kickoff to
Yeah.
the program.
One of the things that we came out of those retreats is clarity does so much for you. There's so much uplift and so much push that it can do positively in your life. But ultimately, it's unlocking confidence. You have the confidence because you have a clear mind. You can make decisions confidently. You can step into a room with confidence because you don't have so much extra noise and extra pretty much negativity in your
Sure.
mind. It builds momentum in your life because you have a path forward. And our biggest goal is creating fulfillment, because now you're on a path towards really your dreams.
Exactly.
The stars are aligning because you can actually focus on those stars to run towards.
So we're going to take 2 minutes here. You need to pause the webinar if you're here with us. Just take 2 minutes and go through this quick prompt. So grab a piece of paper. Has there been a defining moment of clarity in your life? So a moment, a pinnacle moment, a peak moment in your life where you knew what that path forward was. So we're going to pause here for 2 minutes. Let you guys journal on that and reflect there. Be right back.
All right. Well, hopefully that was you were able to get some answers just right
Yeah.
off the bat.
Yeah.
That question is it's a difficult one to understand where in your life you have had clarity and where you haven't. Typically,
Yeah.
those are pivotal moments in your life where you make extreme changes and extreme transitions.
It takes a lot of courage too to kind of dive back and unpack something that you might be fearful of.
Right.
Whether it's fearful, but I mean, in this sense, it's about kind of a positive moment, but still you had to go through some adversity to find that moment of clarity.
Right. Right. And there could be a lot of moments, but most likely there was one moment that came to your mind.
For sure.
And
The
that's the
first
one
thing.
typically that still needs some work.
So let's go into the number one reason why people stay stuck. And this is one of my favorite topics, but it is about living in that reaction mode, that state of playing defense, living on your heels. And that is the reason that a lot of people stay stuck, is they don't spend that time to pause. They don't spend that time to reflect and look where they came from. They're constantly looking at what is next. They're just putting out fires left and right, and they're stuck, and they can't get past that unless they do something.
Yeah. We've been programmed our whole life to live in reaction.
Hmm.
If you can train your mind to be living a life of proaction,
Hmm.
you're in a very healthy space. It's somewhere where you will find momentum in life. So let's dive in a little bit more into that.
So there's so many places that we're distracted these days. We're all working a ton of hours.
Mm,
We're trying to be present in all these different moments in our life, but that's just impossible. The brain can't process
absolutely.
that much, and you can't be great at everything you're doing.
Right.
Multitasking is really not a thing. So
Yeah.
there's distractions everywhere. There's notifications in your pocket is buzzing all the time. Maybe there's phantom buzzing going on where you
Mm-hmm.
think your phone is there and you thought you heard it. But ultimately, we live in this world of no space, no time, no
Right.
ability to kind of disconnect.
Right. And what does that do to you when you first wake up?
I mean, the biggest thing that does is it puts you in reaction mode.
Right.
And that is why most people stay stuck, is they are constantly reacting. The first thing they're doing is
First
grabbing
thing, you grab your
grabbing their
phone, you get
phone.
all the notifications.
Yeah, you're just playing defense. You're
Respond,
not you're not
respond, respond.
proactive at all. And you're staying stuck. I mean, if you do that day in and day out, you're just living this hamster wheel. It's a hum of life.
Right.
And you've got to crack that. You got to break free from
You
that.
have to stop. And it starts with small steps.
That's
And the smallest step is creating space to think. When you are in this reactive mode, you are not committing yourself to actually create space
yeah.
to move forward in life because we're just a lot of it is physical too. Your nervous
Sure.
system just starts revving up,
Mhm.
blood pressure. I mean, it really gets down to so many different things in your physical world too, where you can just feel that pressure and you can feel that negative reaction constantly
Yeah,
going on. And that spins us into anxiety and stress for the day.
it does. So, kind of like Kyle mentioned, you're trying to set this intentional time and really a time for reflection. And where we wrote a quote here on the bottom, it's not for lack of effort, it's for lack of clarity. If you don't know what you truly want, how can you take that action forward? What we've always said in this time is how do we what do we do in a time of reflection?
Mm-hmm.
And for me personally, it is all about going back from where you started from where you are today and being proud of those different moments. We don't really create that time and that space to
Right.
do that work, to think about that. Thus, we're constantly running, we're constantly playing defense, we're on our heels.
Yeah. And when you have a time of intentionality, your inner voice will just bring things to you.
Totally.
It'll bring things to consciousness that you need to think about and work through as well. So there's reflective moments during those times where you just reflect on life and you reflect on the small things. Or maybe there's just external things that are happening to you in
Yeah.
front of you, wherever you're at.
Mhm.
But other times it's your voice, your inner dialogue deep down that's actually getting louder. And it's bringing things to your consciousness that are saying, hey, this is where you're stuck.
Yeah.
And it'll just naturally come because you're allowing your conscious to bring it to you. Otherwise, you're just in this reactive mode and you just keep suppressing that voice. And that's a dangerous place to be in. And I think danger is the right word for that. You don't want to be there because you will never ever get ahead. You're just continuously slowly digging a ditch in the valley.
It's true.
And so a small time, a small moment, even 20 minutes in the morning to sit there. So step one, very quick, create space for thinking and reflection. That can be on your calendar every Thursday from 9 to 10 a.m. That can be every Sunday evening from 9 to 10 p.m. That could be in a break that you have for 15 minutes, but you need to create the space for thinking and reflection.
Even to the point of while you're making your morning coffee, we've had a lot of
Mm,
individuals go through breath work while they're making their cup of coffee. While it's brewing and stewing, you've got 2 to 5 minutes.
yeah.
Spend that time, put the phone down,
Because what do people
look
usually
outside,
do when they're
walk
brewing their
outside.
coffee?
100, it's
They
exactly
grab
what
their
they're
phone.
doing. Exactly.
Grab their phone.
That's a great moment of intentionality.
Yeah.
A moment that you have that you can spend that time
Letting
thinking.
your dog out in the morning to go to
Exactly.
the bathroom. You're just sitting there at the sliding glass door waiting for them to come back in.
Hmm.
That's a moment where you can go sit on your deck and just think.
Yep. Exactly. So we need to start to make this shift to a thinking mode rather than a doing mode.
Mm,
And it's not a feeling of being selfish while doing this. You
absolutely.
actually are showing up better for other individuals in your life by spending that time
Right.
thinking, reflecting who you are, why you're the way you are. That kind of time and pause is actually can create more impact when you
Absolutely.
do get back into doing mode because everybody you got to get back into doing mode at some
Have to.
point, but you need to you need to initiate a thinking mode as well.
But that doing mode becomes more efficient and productive.
It does. You know your path.
You know your path.
Exactly. So here we go. We've got a little an action item for us. So we want you guys to set 30 to 60 minutes of time of very focused, intentional reflection time, and break it down. Uh, Break it down into the space that you're going to do it and what this ritual and habit starts to look like. And if you want, you can comment in the chat, but spend this time, be accountable, and be very disciplined to yourself in this time, and try it for 30 days, whether it's a Wednesday morning,
Right.
but create that space. For me, I really focus on my morning ritual, and the big part of it is there's this chair in our house where I go and create journal and mindfulness space. So I'm meditating and I'm going through a journal exercise, and that is the ritual. But I have a physical space that I do it in, and it makes that time so much more productive.
And make sure that space does not add to the mental clutter that we have.
Exactly.
It is very, very important. If you have an office that is a desk where you can't see the top of it, if you have a place in your house that is a mess because the kids didn't put their toys away, don't choose those spots, even if it's your comfort zone. If you need to remove yourself from your house, go do that. From your office, go do that. Some people you do the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Put some headphones on, throw on Headspace or meditation on Spotify, whatever that is, and they just allow the clarity to come through.
Yep.
You know, we talk right here, implement a clarity window. When you're looking through a window, is it easier to see through it when it's clean and clear, or is it foggy? Currently, your window is probably foggy because you can't see through it. So these moments that you can actually create some intentional time is allowing that windshield wiper to begin to clean and see through it, so you actually have a clear view of what's in front of you.
Step 2, we told you guys we'd give you 3, so here's 2. Identify the mental clutter that's holding you back. We all have these emotional weights that are holding us back, these limiting beliefs about ourselves that are preventing us from moving forward. And we need to spend this time, and these reflection blocks and these clarity windows are great times to do that, to really identify and sift out that clutter that is in our head.
Yeah. During these times of removing this mental clutter, these are the questions that you need to ask and things that you need to address. What's really keeping you stuck? There's something there connected deep down. Is there a fear that you learned while you were growing up? Or maybe it was at a past job or past business or from a past relationship. Yeah. What is the indecisions you're having? What is it you're actually indecisive of? What is the decisions you are not making and why? You can backtrack to that limited belief. Past failures that have really sunk very deep, that suppress, that you haven't dealt with. You've put it away because of embarrassment, because of the fear of dealing with that failure. And then, of course, self-confidence. Where do you find confidence and where do you not find confidence in your life? All 4 of those different things are intertwined. They can connect together, but asking those questions in a very deep meditative time is what's going to help you actually find and clean through that mental clutter to find that clarity.
All of these too likely happened because of some type of past experience, something that you went through, some type of adversity.
From somebody.
Yeah, it shaped who you are and how you think, but ultimately it's actually keeping you stuck.
Yeah.
So it's refreshing these ideas, but also spending that time to reflect. So take 2 minutes here and ask yourself, what is one thing that you keep avoiding? Is it that conversation? Is it that first time getting in the gym? Is it a fear that you don't feel like you can look it straight in the eye or look yourself in the mirror?
Imposter syndrome.
Is it? Spend a couple minutes here and try, and it's the first thing that comes to your gut. What is one thing you keep avoiding?
All right. So hopefully that little exercise helped you out to kind of dig through those things. So the first exercise was, when was the last time you found clarity?
Yeah.
Right. When did you actually feel like you had an issue and you were able to control it and see through it? And this next one is moments that maybe you didn't have clarity, or where you're feeling right now. What's keeping you stuck? So this next action item to work on this mental clarity is daily journaling, right? So many people say they've done journaling before and they liked it, or maybe it doesn't work for me. Part of it is because of discipline and not actually having some guidance as well. So I know journaling is really big in your life. Why don't you jump in there and
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about
A
it.
big part about journaling, like Kyle, you just said, is people don't think it works. But
Right.
let's go back to how did you how did you go about your journaling? Is it this 2 minute window that you've got? Kids are screaming at you. You're just trying to jot down some notes. What was that environment like?
Right.
And when you can actually shut off the noise, it's incredible what happens to that inner voice, and it just starts to come out on paper. And actually putting pen to paper versus typing it out creates that bond in your head, that subconscious feeling of actually gonna get it done or letting it
Right.
all out. And I recommend doing it in the evening. I do a morning and an evening session, but the evening sessions is a great way to unload the emotions of the day. And what comes to paper is what's in your mind.
Yeah.
So be open, be vulnerable, be honest with yourself. And nobody's checking this. Don't care about
Right.
punctuation or spelling or
Or
grammar.
even if
Just
it makes
get it.
sense,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
get it out, and
Yeah.
you'll start to feel a lot more calm and
You're
easy
not
going to
bringing
bed.
it into your sleep, which that's a whole thing of bringing it into your subconscious and what that does to you, opening up your next day,
Yeah,
bringing your problems and issues. I mean, and journaling also it can be positive as well.
sure.
We don't mean to just like talk about the all the negative stuff,
Yeah.
but typically what's being held in our mind are those things that are holding us back, that we have anxiety over and stress and feel overwhelmed by. So if you can get it on paper, it gets it out, and you're not bringing it to your sleep, and you're not bringing those feelings into the next day.
That's huge.
It'll help so you don't have restless sleep. You'll actually be able to sleep with some peace, knowing you at least took care of some of those thoughts before
Yeah,
you went to bed. And that's very, very important to understand.
absolutely. The last point I want to make is about being proactive for your next day as well.
Right.
If you can get stuff out that caused stress or bottlenecks that you aren't going to be able to go to sleep.
Correct.
It's kind of like a
100%.
radio just kind of spinning through the stations. You can
Right.
hear it in your head, but if you can get it out, the next morning you wake up with this kind of to-do list and this very proactive sense of the day versus like what we talked about early in the webinar, which is about being in reaction mode.
Right.
This is a great way to flip that switch and get into that proactive mode for the next day.
And step three, the last step, a change of environment. Our body, our mind, we react so much to the current environments we're in, whether it's a comfortable environment or an environment that creates a nervous system trigger or our minds start moving. So having the right environment to find clarity is so important.
There's been so many studies on mental clutter, but then physical clutter and how they tie together.
Oh,
You can say that I'm fine working in clutter, but your productivity and the ability for you to focus actually goes down substantially.
right.
And you can say that, that's how you work, but it's really not how you work. You're in that same loop, and we're going to go into that here.
Right. The same thought loop.
Hmm.
You know, a perfect example is this. You go to your desk at home or at
Hmm.
work or whatever it is, and you have a pile of unopened mail.
Yeah,
Most of the time, unopened mail is going to be bills
sure.
or things you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
If you do not deal with that,
Hmm.
those that pile just gets larger and larger and
Yeah.
larger until you finally are like, okay, I need to take care of it. How does it feel once you have it all open, you have everything laid out, and then you have some action items behind everything? It's a relief. And it's very similar to the environment you're in and what it does to the environment in your mind. You continue to let these things pile up and you continue to go into then an environment that's not helping you at all. And you get in this thought loop, a hamster, it just does not stop. It keeps going. That's anxiety. You start getting anxiety over every little thing because the environment that you're in is not supporting your mental clarity and mental fortitude and the mental toughness you need to build as a muscle of your mind. So having that environment is huge. And don't think that environment needs to be at home. That environment can be in the mountains
Sure.
if that's what you need. That environment can be the beach. That environment can be at the park. That can be at the coffee shop, right?
Yep. So we're going to take 2 minutes here and reflect on a place where you do find that peace. Like Kyle said, it doesn't have to be at the house. Where do you find that serenity and where do you find that stillness? And if you do not have the time in the middle of the week to get away and go to the mountains or wherever that might be for you, build that space somewhere in
Right.
your living quarters, living space, whatever that is for you. For me, it's that little chair and light and table. There's a bunch of different places that you can do that around your house. So for now, take those 2 minutes and reflect on that.
All right. Hopefully you came up with some spots. You know, a lot of people, you find them creating spaces in closets.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen
They
that.
get everything out there, and what some people call it a prayer closet, a meditation
Hmm.
closet. We call a clarity closet, whatever that is. And you put things around you that make you feel warm and make you feel focused.
Yeah.
And that's as small as that.
Mhm.
A lot of people just go to the city park.
Exactly. So those are examples of kind of, some small resets that you can do, whether it is a kind of the weekend warrior approach. You've got a weekend off grid,
Yeah.
fully disconnected. A coffee shop is actually a really good one, um, where you can just go take a journal, leave the phone,
Hmm.
and spend some time just watching and observing and just people
Yeah.
watching. It actually is very meditative. A walk in the park and a casual drive. I know you've always leaned into the drive, the casual
There's two
drive.
places that I find serenity. One is in my car by myself, driving back and forth to the
Hmm.
studio, or I'll just. Last night, I literally just went for a drive around
Yeah.
the city. Just drove around for about 30 minutes
Hmm.
and just let my mind go where it needed to go.
Yeah.
Another place is grocery shopping.
Hmm.
Some people find anxiety in that. I find serenity in
Yeah.
that because it allows my space to do allows my mind to do something that it's it's not it it creates a space for me,
It
right?
does.
I'm just doing something mundane, but I'm able to think and I'm not thinking about the rest of everything else going on in my life.
All of these things have in common one thing, which is disconnecting and letting your
Yeah.
mind wander. We're constantly thinking about what is next, what you've got to do, all these different people trying to get involved with you. Every single one of these is about disconnecting and
Yeah.
being present in the moment without those distractions.
Yeah, so one action item for this. You need to find a place, whether it's a weekend off the grid, just finding a place to go camp. It could be an Airbnb, it can be a friend's cabin, whatever that is. If you can't commit to that right now, go find a coffee shop that you find when you go there. You're like, this is really nice. I like this coffee shop.
Good vibe.
Good vibe. And you can just find a little corner
Hmm.
and just be. It could be a walk in the park, whether it's a small park or a large park that you can go get lost and escape reality for a little bit. Or it can be a casual drive without GPS and just let the steering wheel take you where it
Hmm.
needs to take. But the most important thing about this action item is leave your phone. Turn it off. Put it into do not disturb, whatever that is, but do not put it on. It is a moment of digital detox and be present without the distractions because it's going to go back to what we originally talked about. And that is being stuck in reactive mode. You're going to allow your mind to go for like 5 minutes, and all of a sudden you're going to get that Slack from work. All of a sudden you're going to get that text from your significant other or your buddy about the game on Sunday. Whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. You're getting into reactive mode. And what does that do? It starts triggering everything else because it's the thought loop that we're always used to.
Exactly. So there's another action, which is a full reset. What we do here at Peak Fulfillment is create those experiences for individuals that are looking for a more intensive style reset, a renewal.
Mm,
And we do that through a self-guided solo retreat,
yeah.
recommending between 2 and 3 days, fully disconnected,
Yeah.
digital detox. And this is an opportunity for that inner voice to come out and become very loud. You
Mhm.
start to turn down everything in day one, and day two and day three, your inner voice really starts to come out. And that's when those journaling and these prompts and these meditations and guided exercises really allow you to have that reset and you
Yeah.
come back knowing your path forward and you have clarity.
It's so healthy to go out on your own
Hmm.
to the woods,
Yeah,
to camping, to an Airbnb, and just be for a little bit. But where a lot of people struggle is they don't have structure. They don't have
totally.
guidance, but they still want to be by themselves. That's what our program does. It will give you guidance by the minute on what you need to do to work on and answer the different questions you have in life. The things that we had talked about, the failures, the self confidence, the
Sure.
fears, the indecisions in life. We create questions and journal prompts and activities and exercises and meditations and so much more in this program that allow you to actually see where those things are because a lot of times we can't find it. But the right questions and the right activities will help your subconscious pose those things so you can deal with them, look at them, create a path forward and a vision forward so you have that full reset. Think about
Exactly.
what 10 minutes in your day does. Imagine what 3 days could do, right? And that's where you can actually reset your mindset so you can actually have a plan forward.
Quick fixes are not going to work for the longevity of your path to clarity. You're not going to find clarity, and you might find, these little moments of clarity, but you're not going to find that path forward with these small fixes.
Right. You can find answers in those moments.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue is with just going and taking off for an hour
Mm-hmm.
is your mind is already set at, okay, I'm going to go do my time from 9 to
Yeah.
10. I have a meeting at 10:15. So your mind is constantly thinking about 10:15, 10:15, 10:15. What am I going to say at this meeting? All that stuff. It's a quick fix for the day, but you're going to get back into that thought
Yeah.
loop. If you can commit to yourself
Sure.
several days to actually deal with the things that you need to work through, that's where the fix is going to be. That can be transformational and semi-permanent.
Exactly. So we've got a quote here that Kyle and I like to say to a lot of students that come through our program is, you can't shortcut clarity. More books, hacks, goal setting won't help if you're unclear on where you're actually going.
Right.
You don't have that path forward. Like we said earlier, it's not really a motivation problem, it's a clarity problem. You might be very motivated by these different books, hacks, and goal setting, but ultimately you don't know what that path is and why you're driving on that path.
Absolutely. More does not mean clarity. Addition is not always the key and the answer. Sometimes you need to subtract to actually get forward. And it is so important. Yes, the books work. Yes, the podcast can help. Yes, the seminars help. Yes, the hacks and all the goal setting. That's all great, but it's just adding more to your mind when
Exactly.
sometimes you need to take a step back to actually figure out what the path is. It opens up a view to your future that typically you can't see otherwise because there's so many different obstacles in place you still need to deal with. So why is it that a solar retreat is the quickest and fastest path to clarity? One, it's going to remove the distractions of your daily life, whether it's from having it as a digital detox and not front for your phone. It's the kids at home. It's your significant other. It's your mom calling you because she has an issue with you needing to fix something in her bathroom. All those different things. You're giving yourself the commitment and time and permission to go take care of yourself and not others for a change. The only way to actually show up for others is to show up for yourself first.
Exactly. Coming back with a reset mindset. This means renewal. This means recharge. You've cleaned the slate, and now you come back grounded with self awareness, grounded with that foundation of knowing who you are, why you are the way you are, what were your limiting beliefs. You've now rewired those, and your mind feels very clear. You know what is next,
Mm-hmm.
you know how to get to that next step.
Yeah. A lot of times we get stuck in a mindset that
Sure.
is not healthy for our future and and where we're heading in life. And so being able to reset, that's very, very important. And having that reset happen with some structured guidance is where you need to be. You
Yeah.
need to be able to know that I still have support through this. I still am asking myself the right questions. I know what to actually write down
Mm-hmm.
in my journal. Otherwise, you're just letting it be free thought, which is very healthy, but being able to actually see through all the noise and clutter, you need some guidance.
Yeah.
And we provide that through 3 different workbooks that are filled with activities, and they each dive into different parts of your life where you maybe are going to unveil like, whoa,
Yeah.
I didn't realize the trust that I didn't have for my father from the
Mm-hmm.
specific event when I was 7 actually is what is affecting me when I'm 42.
So true. A lot of people want to do solo retreats specifically right now, but they don't know how to do it.
Right.
They'll show up, they'll go to the woods with a blank journal, and it'll come back blank because there's no structure behind it. And that's what we've done here in this 3-day solo retreat. And what we keep talking about is turning down that external noise so that you can hear that inner voice. The answer is inside of all of us. And when you shut everything off, that inner voice becomes very loud, and you hear what your next path forward is. You start to get it out on paper, and that becomes really clear.
Yeah. So for the ones that are here attending, type a 1 if you think you could use a solar retreat. I'd be typing in about 1,000 ones if I could. I always need some time to myself
Absolutely.
because there's always
To
stuff
be.
going on in my life that I need to process.
Exactly.
And if you're 25 or 65 and you've never done anything
Mm-hmm.
like this, that's 25 years of things and programming
Mm-hmm.
and not allowing you to process. If you're 65, that's 6 decades
Yeah.
of not processing of things that you need to start processing now so you can live a life of fulfillment and belief in who you are and where you want to be.
So today, if you're part of the webinar or watching this webinar, we have an offer around our solo retreat, which is that 3-day experience, that self-guided solo retreat in a box,
Yep.
journals, audio notes, meditations, guided prompts, exercises. There's 2 one-on-one debrief calls with Kyle and I when you come back within that first week back. That is the most impactful week of your
It's
life
huge.
because now you're starting to unpack and word vomit to us, and we're become the bumper lanes, guiding you with different questions about why that happened to you and what does that path forward look like for you.
Right.
And then lastly, it comes with an invitation to our in-person retreat here in Central Oregon. And that is for $3,000. That is the price that we're offering as an exclusive, as being part of this webinar.
So if you're ready to finally break through in life and have that clarity and do this within 3 days, it costs thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to hire a coach for a 12-month program, and it's going to take you a year to get through it. We spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars on books, podcast subscriptions, the amount of videos we watch on YouTube to try to find our answer, the conversations that we have. Yeah. What if in front of you there was a program that you could just go escape for 3 days out of 365 days in a year that you have to actually go take care of yourself and work on this? We have so many other commitments we make in our life, but those commitments are never to ourselves. And it just pushes us further and further away from our inner voice and dealing with those decisions that we need to make. We encourage you to commit to yourself. Break through the noise that you have in your life and actually get some answers through one of our solar retreats. If you're craving this reset, today is your chance. And all the extra bonuses that you're getting an in-person retreat here in Bend, Oregon, an invitation to come do this. You're getting a couple debrief calls from Eli and I. But all it takes is making the decision today to actually push the needle forward in your life. So go ahead and scan the code above. We'll give everybody another few seconds to do that. And we can't wait to hear back from you. But we actually have a bonus offer that we wanted to add.
We do. And one of the common things that we see is backsliding. And backsliding means you have read the books, you've listened to the podcasts, you've gone to the motivational talks, and you're fired up and you're on a high for a week or two. And then that second week, you start to slip back to right where you were, riddled with fear and anxiety. What we do in this 90-day mastermind program is give you this basically board member of accountability partners that have gone through a shared experience like you have gone through. They've all gone through solo retreats. Kyle and I facilitate this 90-day mastermind. We go through the why and the intention behind how we built this program and why we built the program the way that we did.
Yeah.
We unpack exercises, we unpack prompts. We create this man or woman in the middle where you can kind of go through what are you struggling with right now? What is a barrier or a roadblock to clarity? And today, that bonus offer is included in that 3,000.
Yeah, this is a separate program that we offer to people in the solar retreat that they pay for. But today we want to make sure that people have the opportunity not to backslide and have that accountability. And we're willing to offer that to you at no cost today. Any questions and answers, we're always happy to book a call and talk for 30 minutes or an hour to see what you're dealing with and what you're struggling with. If you have any answers or any questions about the retreat program and our coaching, book a call. We're happy to chat and go over those things with you. Know that we believe in you. You may not believe in yourself. You may feel like others don't believe in you, but you have 2 people here in the world of billions of people that believe in you, that know that all you need to do is take a break, take a quick reset, go for a few days, and the fulfillment is right behind that.
So for those of you with us live, we're going to take some Q&A, but if you're not, make sure to show up next time for that live Q&A session. But for now, we will end the recording and we will see you guys on the next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.